Good morning. We left off last time talking about the ABCs of, you could say, of emotional and mental health, or you could say about of happiness or unhappiness. And at point A is the activating event, like the coronavirus. At point C, we have an immediate reaction, anxiety, depression, or whatever. And the question is, what's happening here at point B? So I hope this past week, in the last couple of weeks, you've been paying attention to finding that inner freedom that you have from these external conditions. And in that space between what is, like the virus, and what you would love to have happen, that you're closing the gap with a love focus rather than a fear focus. Because a love focus is really how we manifest what we want in life. So, for example, when I was 7 years old, I was home from school and I was watching, and this will date me, a TV show called Hop Along Cassidy, one of the classic westerns of that era. And I was sitting on the sofa and I got really tired, and I moved over to the floor and I lay on the floor with my hands under my chin watching the show. And then I got even more tired and I rolled over and I watched it upside down until it ended. And when it ended, my mother was on shift work at the time, as was my father, and my mother was kind of dozing in the corner in a recliner. And as she was there, I noticed I couldn't move my head, but I could move my mouth, and every ounce of energy had drained from me. And I said, "Mommy, I can't move." And at that, she called the doctor, and he, in those days, rushed over with his little black bag. And I remember they carried me into the bedroom. He did some checks, and then my father, he went over to talk to my father, and my father woke up, and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He was on the midnight shift. He was sleeping. And he looked like just bedazzled, like, what's going on? Next thing you know, I'm in the old Oldsmobile, and they're driving me to the hospital. Well, that is when I discovered, at that time, that's when I had polio. And I was in the last epidemic of polio in the state of Delaware. The Salk vaccine came out in 1955 in the spring, and I contracted polio in the fall of 1954. So anyway, in that space between having polio and then at least getting over it enough to get out of the hospital, and the doctors told my mother he may never walk again if he lives, because I had a form of polio that was very deadly, and most people died from it. So I was in there for 10 weeks. I got out and I had 2 years of physical therapy. And at that point, my passion, my focus was not on not walking again. My focus was on becoming coordinated. I would fill my consciousness, my awareness with all the examples of grace and coordination and athleticism that I could find. I so wanted to be able to move again. And, well, not even again, but move like these great athletes. And later it became basketball. So in the space between the effects of polio limiting my abilities physically and my ability to be able to do these things, I could see people doing gymnastics, tumbling, all these coordinated things. And then it became basketball eventually when I was big enough to deal with the ball, like it was like 12 or 13 years old. You could lift the ball and really shoot it. And I would just watch endlessly and try to imitate the players that I saw. So from the time that I was 7, and then by the time I was 17, having filled the space with what I would love to have happen, becoming coordinated, being able to really move fluidly and gracefully on the basketball court, when an article came out that my senior year, the key word that I focused on that really rang my bell, really sang to me, was coordinated. They were describing me as highly coordinated. And that's what happens when you really fill the space between what is being limited by the polio to flowing on the basketball court. So if you think about focusing on such things as I'm never going to walk again. This is going to, like take coronavirus. This isn't going to, it's never going to end. We're going to get reinfected. It's, we won't get the herd immunity, et cetera, rather than stop, do this STOP, do the breathing. My anxiety told me I'd hate it if we never got better, got past this, and I'd love it if we did. And then you can, in that space, in the B's, in the beliefs, in that space, that's where the control is. That's where you can tell yourself, hey, we've gotten past polio, we've gotten past the Spanish flu, we've gotten past other things. We have the capacity, there's great competition, great incentive to come up with a vaccine. Russia's got a vaccine, et cetera, and we tend to turn things around. And you can just really take a look at what you're telling yourself, the way your thoughts are, because it's really, that's where we have the mind as an instrument. It's better as a servant, as an instrument, and not a master, because as a master, it's like the monkeys jumping in the jungle between branches to branches and one association to another. So by doing the breathing, getting yourself relaxed, you counter the anxiety, and then by asserting yourself about what you really want, you counter the anxiety, and then by taking action to fill the space between what is and what you love with with images of what you love, like making the basket in a game, on the foul line, like I talked about before, or hitting the ball in golf over the water hole, focusing on the green. So there's another example I had, kind of a simple one. I had to help a friend out from Florida, and I was living in Delaware at the time, and they needed me to go up to New York to get something for them. And I didn't know if I had enough time, and I took a breath and said, okay, I'm just going to be positive about this. I'm going to go to the train station. So I got to the train station, and that whole day I kind of focused on what I would love to have happen. So I got to the train station. Within a couple minutes, the train came, bing, up, no problem. Get up there, get across town, and went to one of my favorite coffee shops on right off of First Avenue, up in around 67th Street in Manhattan, because I had a little time before I had to go to the location to get my this thing for my friend. So as I went into the coffee shop, it was crowded. There was not a place to sit. And I was thinking at the time, I would like a soy latte. I was into non-dairy and going with soy milk. So I thought, geez, I love a soy latte. I kind of like, it happened that I kind of visualized having a soy latte and tasting it, enjoying it. And then when I was up and asked by the barista, what would you like? I said, I'd like a soy latte. And they said, oh, that's great. We just started having them last week. Okay. So while he's serving up the soy latte, I looked across the room and I saw my favorite spot to sit. It had these two little painting of two angels, like cherubic looking angels. And so I wanted to be able to sit there, and it had this great yin and yang symbol, the classic circle from Taoism with the dark side, with a little piece of light side, and a light side with a little piece of dark in it, showing that the universe is dualistic. It's got yin and yang, positive and negative, and there's a little negative in the positive, a little positive in the negative. So anyway, just something I liked. And so as he's getting the drink together, and I notice there's not a place to sit, and I look over there and I'm thinking, geez, I'd like to sit there. And I'm remembering times I sat there and kind of just enjoying it in my consciousness. And then I get the drink, and as soon as I get the drink, the people sitting there get up, leave, and I walk over and have the exact seat I wanted. Then as I procured what I had to get for my friend, and then I had to get across town to catch the train to get back to Delaware, we looked pretty jammed up. The traffic was bad. I found myself feeling like I'd hate to miss the train. I'd really love to make the train. So I stayed in a kind of a place of, okay, breathing nice and cool, get in a cab, and just kind of imagining, picturing getting to Penn Station, bada bing, bada boom, get to Penn Station, get on the train, no problem. As I'm riding back in the train, I'm noticing it's snowing, and I'm thinking, oh, wouldn't it be great if when I get back, I can just take my arm and just sort of wipe the snow off it. It's not freezing, and it's not sticking to the windshield. And I kind of pictured that and imagined that, and kind of let that go. And so get back to the train station, get off the train, get out to the car. Sure enough, it's simple. I just wipe the snow right off. I'm driving back to my condo and I'm thinking, geez, wouldn't it be nice if I had that great space right in front because the snow is getting deeper? And that would be really nice. So as I pull in, I've kind of pictured, I pull in and I notice, oh, it looks like all the cars are filling up the spots. But as I look closer, the spot on the end is available. It's just there's snow over it, but not too much that I can't pull in. So I slide right into the space I imagined, get into the house and get into my flannel sheets as I had imagined too, and everything had unfolded. And that's when I thought, and I wrote this in the book, A Matter of Love, I gave this example, manifesting what you want, attaining what you want is a matter of love focus versus fear focus, and the energy of that love. So this week, see if you can notice what you're telling yourself and see what you can tell yourself differently. That's just equally accurate, but with a slant toward what you want, not what you don't want. So you're using what you don't want as a springboard to what you want. And you can think of examples in your own life where you may have been able to manifest those things that are dear to you. Okay, so with that, next week we're going to be shifting a little bit beyond these sort of working with our mind to and transforming stress from the negative to a positive. What we're going to be doing is we're going to start taking 12 steps from my latest book, If My Shadow's in the Lead, that means my back is to the light, and beginning to take one a week to really see that there's another way to deal with stress and suffering in life, and that is to transcend it. So we've been working on ways to work with it, and now we're going to work on ways to step back, step above it, and still bring our focus back to getting what we want in life, to as whatever it is that's going to ring our bell and really make life worth living. So even if we do transcending, it's only transcending for the purpose of stepping back and then coming forward and moving ahead in a direction we really want to go in. So with that, have a good week, and I will talk to you next week.